Today I turned 50, and if I had a chance to sit across my younger self, the person that was scared and hustling and trying to make everything work, and this is what I would say. I started out at 11 years old being homeless and built multi-million-dollar businesses by the age of 50 years old. I have learned the hard way a lot of really difficult lessons, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, most of the things that I worried about really don't matter. These are lessons that I truly learned, and I hope they help you. The first thing that I learned was that your biography is not your destiny. Starting out at 11 years old, that whole experience of my life, having to live in abandoned houses, being in foster care, being in shelters, all of that did this stuff to me on the inside that developed this identity that I believed about myself for a really long time that I don't need to carry anymore. And I know this isn't popular opinion, but you don't have to continue to be the person that you used to be. And just because my startup of my life was a place that wasn't exactly sugar-coated and filled with silver spoons, it didn't mean that I wasn't able and capable of becoming a successful adult. And I see so many people that hang on to the unfortunate pain and suffering that they've been through and the poor environment that they grew up in, and they don't have to stay there anymore. And for myself, boy, I carried this burden for 17 years on my back of something that had happened to me until finally one day I just wrote it all down and I said, none of that is my fault and I don't have to be this person anymore. And I decided that I was going to change the way that I thought about things. And I teach a lesson called the thought loop that teaches you how your actions are what actually drive your emotions, which drives your thoughts. And so all I had to do was start making changes in my life, and I was able to change my emotions, which brings me to my second point, which is stick with the plan, not your emotions. For such a long time, especially owning a restaurant, having employees, everything always felt like I was putting out fires and I was consistently dealing with emotions and frustration, and I can't tell you how many times I felt disrespected or why would that person do that to me, until I realized that I actually could control the way that I felt in a situation, and I could actually stop thinking the same way that I always thought just by making changes in my life and sticking with the plan. And sticking with the plan says this: you set this goal for your life. You say, I want to get up every single day and I'm going to work out. And you set the plan and the standard for yourself, and you say to yourself, this isn't something that I'd like to do, this is absolutely something that I'm going to do. And you become that person. You do that thing and you do it for long enough, and all of the stuff that you used to be starts to just go away. And man, I can't tell you enough about how wonderful it is to stick with a plan and tell yourself that you're going to do something, and how your body and your nervous system at first is like, is she really going to stick with it? Is she really going to be that new person? And then you decide you're going to do it, and you keep doing it, and you keep showing up. Not these giant, huge, gargantuous changes, just something small, something little. And you stick with the plan, and it's interesting how your body and your nervous system will catch up. The next thing was one of the hardest lessons, and I recently learned this just in the last 5 years, is that not everybody gets to come with you. You'll have friends that you've had forever that were awesome friends that you went through amazing challenges with, but there's a point where that friendship is no longer growing. And it's not that you're dissing that person or you're leaving them behind or that you think you're better than them. It's just that they were meant to come with you for a season. And it's okay for those relationships to not stay the same as you get older. And then there's some people that are meant to go with you for the long haul. And then there's some people that you have to decide that they can't belong anymore. And that was the hardest lesson that I had to learn. I had to really evaluate the people that I was surrounding myself with, because if I was going to change my identity and I wanted to change my standards of who I was and how I was living my life, the people that I surrounded myself with needed to be people that were encouraging and developing that new direction that I was going on. They needed to be people that were on that journey with me, not that they were tearing me down. And I especially struggled when I've had employees that have been with us for a season that were so fantastic and wonderful. And then they put in their notices. I had one that she got pregnant with her first baby, and I was so devastated to lose her, but also so happy that she was having a baby. And I didn't know what we were going to do once she was gone. Who was going to fill that space? And the beautiful thing is someone always does. Somebody rises to the challenge and fills that space. And then you have other people that might not be someone that should be there, someone that's negative, but they're a high performer. And so you tolerate them for a very long time until you realize that they're just dragging the whole team down. And I love this idea that we have this obligation as leaders to protect our staff and our employees like we're their parent or something. Not that I am, but I just had this opportunity to look at them like these are my children, and I need to make sure that my children are being protected and that negativity isn't taking them down. And somebody that's negative, they always have to have someone to talk to. And so those kinds of people, even if they are a good friend of yours, which is what I experienced, if they're negative, they're just going to pull everyone down with you, and they have to go. And it's not personal. It's not about that I think I'm better than anybody. It's just that I realize that sometimes in life, not everybody gets to come with you. And then there's the most valuable lesson that I've learned in the last year is that discipline equals freedom. I never really understood this, and I talked about it a little bit before, but I never really understood what discipline does to you as an individual. I remember laying in bed at night and I would say, tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the gym before I go to work, and I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to eat something healthy for breakfast. And then tomorrow comes and the alarm goes off and I think, I'm not getting out of this bed. I'm a different person in the morning than I was at night when I was making those commitments to myself. But the thing about it is that your brain is listening to you, and you are telling yourself that you cannot be trusted when you do that. But when you decide that you're going to make a change in your life. And for me, I decided I was going to work out every single day. I'm going to go to the gym for at least 30 minutes. I'm going to get a good exercise in. I set a plan of what my exercise was going to be. And so I stick with the plan. I get up in the morning, and no matter what, I decided that's it. I am going to do this. This is who I am now. This is what I am doing. I'm not going to miss a day. And I committed to myself. And at the first couple of days, it's easy, but after a little while, it starts to get a little bit harder. You get some traction. At this point, I'm at 281 days, and if I missed a day, I'd be really disappointed with myself. I'd be really upset. But there's still days where I wake up and I go, I just don't want to get up and do this. But I have made a commitment to myself. And the thing that has happened because I made this commitment to myself, because I proved to myself that I am an honest person to me, because I am listening to me. I hear all the times that I say I'm going to do something and then I don't do it. My brain knows if I am telling the truth to myself. And I now have proven to myself for 281 days that I can be trusted for what I say I'm going to do. And what happened at about the 6-month mark is I realized that I had completely changed who I was. I changed the way that I looked at the world, and I changed the way that I showed up in the world. And I started to look at what are some other things that I can do? What are some other positive changes that I have been avoiding all this time that I probably should implement into my life? And I'm super grateful for, it was just an exercise. It was an experiment to see if I could do it. I watched my husband do it for an entire year, and I saw that he was capable, and I suddenly believed if he could do it, I could probably do it. And so I can't say enough about it. Discipline is freedom, and it doesn't have to be major things. It doesn't have to be big and crazy, just something small that you commit every single day to yourself. And the last thing that I have learned in 50 years is that you're enough. When I turned 30, I felt like, you know what? I feel like people would probably finally listen to me. When I turned 40, I was like, definitely. I feel like I know some stuff now and I could tell some people. And now I'm at 50, and why did I wait? When I was homeless at 11 years old, I started to write. Writing was a way of expressing my emotions and getting some of the things out that were inside of me. And it just gave me this ability to process that I didn't have before. And I wrote all the time. And I thought for sure, I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to publish. I'm going to be an author. And then I just didn't think I was enough. And every decade that I would have a birthday, I would ask myself, am I enough yet? Am I enough yet? Do I have enough value yet? And today, I can tell you with absolute certainty, I did. At every step of the way, someone out there needed to hear the things that I was only going to be able to say in my voice. And instead of recognizing and trusting that I was called to do this, I was called to serve people in this way, I shrunk and I became small and I said, I'm not enough. And I wish that I had trusted myself sooner, because I published this year for the first time and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And honestly, I'm going to publish again and I'm going to keep writing, because if it helps anyone, if there's even one person that watches one of my videos or that reads something that I've written and says to themselves, I believe in myself, I think I can do this, then it's absolutely 100% my responsibility to do it. And if I don't do it, then I'm just being selfish. So I hope this helped you. And it's definitely a lot of things that I have learned in my 50 years that I wish that I could go back and talk to young 20-year-old Kimberly and say, hey, here's the truth. You don't have to wait.